Okay, so let's offer our respects to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so does anybody remember what we saw in the previous class? It appears as though we had the previous class, the previous lifetime now. It was so long back. So what did we see?
I remember these two verses, like if we do like a spiritual practice in this life for a short period of time, and if we fail, then in the next lifetime what we get. Was it like last class or was it a class before that?
Yeah, it was in response to actually after Krishna has explained how one does dhyana yoga. Arjuna has his doubts, no? So he says that this method appears very impractical to me. And then Krishna says that yes, it is difficult to control the mind because Arjuna says that it's easier for me to control the wind, but I cannot control the mind. So then Krishna says, yes, it is very difficult indeed to control the mind, but with practice
And detachment.
With abhyas and vairagya, it is possible.
Yeah.
So then Arjuna asked this question that, okay, so because, Arjuna's concern, he feels that it is very, very hard. So now he wants to know what happens if somebody is following a path, but is not able to attain perfection. So then what happens? Because he's neither fully spiritual nor fully material. So then what is the fate of such a person? And in reply to that, then Krishna says that, yes, when somebody falls down after a long practice of yoga, what happens? And somebody falls down after a short practice of yoga, what happens? So that's when this thing comes, what you are talking about. So let's go to that verse.
Yes, and then we also saw that picture of somebody riding a chariot, and we compared like the chariot is compared to a body, and then the passenger is compared to soul.
Yes. So here are the two verses. If one falls down after a short practice of yoga, then he's born in a family of righteous people or in an opulent family. And long practice of yoga, he is born in the family of a transcendentalist, maybe an acharya, a spiritual master like that. Yeah, so coming to your chariot thing, yes, here is the picture. So this is the analogy from the Katha Upanishad, how the mind is higher than the senses. So it is possible to control the senses by using our mind and using our intelligence. The intelligence is even more higher than the mind. So this is the analogy that Prabhupada mentions in the book.
And I can just see your home screen. I don't know if it's the same case with everyone.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the analogy of the that we just discussed. What else did we see? We need to complete a few. As we discussed in the previous class, here in this chapter, Krishna is talking basically about how one can practice dhyana yoga. But Prabhupada in his purports, he repeatedly mentions that how bhakti yoga is better than dhyana yoga. And we discussed why Prabhupada does that, because a devotee of the Lord is more merciful than the Lord. So the conclusion that Krishna gives at the end of this chapter, and more specifically, he gives it, or more explicitly, he gives the conclusion at the end of the Gita, that Prabhupada is mentioning before itself, right from chapter 1 actually. Prabhupada talks about bhakti yoga, bhakti yoga, bhakti yoga, because he knows that not everybody is going to go ahead and finish reading the chapter or finish reading the book. So the conclusion that Krishna gives later, Prabhupada gives it before. So in his purports, here we have a table where Prabhupada's comparison is put so that it's easier for us to read and understand. So let's read this. We need 2 volunteers for reading. Who can read today? Today we don't have translations because we will be reading these texts and then we will see a PPT on the yoga ladder to finish up the subject matter. So we will have 1 reader for this PPT and 1 reader for the yoga ladder PPT. So we have
one of it.
Shreya, okay. 1 more volunteer, please. Nobody likes to read?
Varun can read.
Varun, can you read? Varun, are you there?
Okay, read.
Or I can just start and then, if anybody wants to, otherwise I'll just read everything.
He got disconnected, Mataji. He'll join now. Okay.
Okay. So we have Mitra Vinda with us. Is this your first class, Mitra Vinda?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes, Mataji. This is my first time. Vrinda Gopika Mataji, sent me the link, so I joined it, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Is
Thank you.
Chaitanya Maharaj disciple. Mitra Brunda also taking CC Bhagavatam and CC Bhagavad Gita in your area in Charlotte. And she's so sincere Vaishnavi. Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Mitra Brunda in Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Shri Radha Gopinath family.
Thank you,
Thank you so much for joining us, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. We always see you in Guru Maharaj's call. So, yeah, I'm inspired. Then Vrinda Gopika Mataji, directed me for the call. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so let's read this.
Okay. Summarized theme comparing Ashtanga Yoga and Krishna consciousness in terms of practice, 6.10 to 6.17. This table shows that all precautions and perfections for transcendentalists are perfectly executed when one is directly in Krishna consciousness. Criteria, principle, text number 6.10, Ashtanga Yoga, constantly engage body, mind, and self in relationship with Supreme. In Krishna consciousness, it's constantly engage body, mind, and self in relationship with Supreme. Criteria, relationship with Supreme. Ashtanga Yoga, impersonalists and yogis are partially, imperfectly, and indirectly Krishna consciousness, while in Krishna consciousness, a devotee is fully Krishna consciousness, perfect and direct relationship with Supreme. Criteria, place of practice. In Ashtanga Yoga, they live alone and in a secluded place. The purpose is to avoid disturbance by external objects. While in Krishna consciousness, a devotee stays in good association or avoid unwanted association, thus always aloof from material things.
So see, an Ashtanga yogi and a person in Krishna consciousness or one who's practicing Bhakti Yoga, both of them are engaging body, mind and self in relationship with the Supreme. So there, the principle is the same. Now coming to the relationship with the Supreme, an Ashtanga yogi, he realizes his realization is only partial because he can realize the Brahman and the Paramatma. But a person who's following Bhakti Yoga, he fully realizes the Lord because he realizes the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord. An Ashtanga yogi has to go and live in a secluded place. But a person who's following Krishna consciousness, he doesn't have to go and live in a secluded place. He can live his grihastha life. He can live in the city. He can live wherever he is living, and he can still practice bhakti yoga. So, but he avoids unwanted association. Now, sometimes for the sake of preaching, one may have to associate with somebody who's not a devotee. Yes, and Ashtanga yogi, for him there is no question of preaching. He is like standalone. He himself wants to go to the forest and he wants to perfect his life. But a person who's following Krishna consciousness, he is fortunate and he also wants to make other people fortunate. So for the sake of preaching, he does associate. But a person who's strong in Krishna consciousness, when he associates with a non-devotee, he gives his association. He will not take association. And when he associates with devotees and other senior Vaishnavas, then he takes association. Okay, let's continue.
Mind control, first business of any transcendentalist. In Ashtanga Yoga struggles hard to fix mind on super soul. In Krishna consciousness, devotee always thinks of Krishna and never forgets him. Concentration of mind on the Supreme is called Samadhi. Consciousness free of desire and possessiveness, a prerequisite to practice Yoga Root stage. In perfect determination, one should not hanker after unnecessary material things that entangle him by feelings of material possessiveness. In Krishna consciousness, direct Krishna consciousness means self-abnegation right in the beginning stages wherein there is very little chance for material possessiveness. Rupa Goswami's Yukta Vairagya principle, study 6.10 purport. Manner of sitting, in Ashtanga Yoga, not too high or too low, deer skins or kusha grass, and straight posture or vision on tip of the nose. In Krishna consciousness, there are no such specifications.
So because a person in Krishna consciousness, he's engaged in activities for the pleasure of the Lord, whether it's cooking or painting or singing or dancing or preaching, whatever it is, because his Krishna is in the center and all his activities are Krishnaized, therefore automatically he is in samadhi. His mind is fully concentrated on Krishna. And a Krishna conscious person, he does not reject the material. He accepts material objects, but he uses it in the service of the Lord. That is Yukta Vairagya. But Ashtanga yogi, he just rejects the material. He makes that differentiation between matter and spirit. But a Krishna conscious person, he uses matter in the service of the Lord. And for a person can sit, doesn't have to necessarily sit on kusha grass, deer skin, sit straight. He can sit on the sofa, he can sit on the chair, and he can practice Krishna consciousness. So there is no such specification on how one has to necessarily sit.
Celibacy, Ashtanga Yoga, must for Gyan and Dhyan schools. Krishna consciousness, only school which allows Grihast Brahmachari concept. Fearlessness, full Krishna consciousness is the only basis of fearlessness. Object of meditation in Ashtanga Yoga, to see Vishnu Murti, object of yoga practice in the heart, an expansion of Krishna only. Devotee always sees Krishna everywhere. Goal of life. In Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna in the heart of every living entity, indicated by Machita and Matpara in text 14, in Krishna consciousness, only Krishna. Result is the ultimate goal of yoga practice. Ashtanga Yoga, cessation of all material existence, Kingdom of God achieved only by one in perfect understanding of Krishna. And for Krishna consciousness, devotee is a perfect yogi because always absorbed in Krishna's service and has perfect understanding of Krishna. Reference Amrish Maharaj.
So we saw this concept of Grihastha Brahmachari, which Prabhupada mentioned in the purpose, isn't it? Who is a Grihastha Brahmachari?
Oh,
Taking in
Arjun.
Ashram, Mataji.
Yeah, Grihastha Ashram, and then Grihastha Brahmachari means what? Who is a Grihastha Brahmachari?
Following rules and regulations of Srila Prabhupada, get up early in the morning, complete his japa, and read, hearing Shishi Bhagavatam, and follow all the temple, ISKCON temple rules and regulations.
Yes. And here Mitravanda Mataji also has replied in the chat. She says regulated sex life. So yes, Grihastha means there is permission to unite with a person of the opposite sex, but under certain rules and regulations. It's not that whenever and however, it's not like that. So regulation in the sex life within the Grihastha ashram, that is Grihastha Brahmachari. Okay. So then fearlessness. So we saw how Prahalad, he was completely fearless. Although his father tried to kill him in so many different ways, he was never fearful. He was always fearless because he had full faith that the Lord is going to protect him. So complete fearlessness is possible only in Krishna consciousness, says Prabhupada. Then, of course, the object of meditation, goal of life, a Krishna conscious person or somebody who's following Bhakti Yoga, he wants Krishna himself. He wants to realize Krishna in the form of Bhagavan. And the object of meditation for an Ashtanga yogi, he wants to realize the Paramatma aspect of the Supreme Lord. Coming to Ambarish Maharaj, although externally it appeared that Ambarish Maharaj is engaged in materialistic occupation, he was a king, but still he was a complete yogi because he engaged in devotional service. So although externally it may appear that one is doing or engaging in materialistic activities, such a person can, if he's following Krishna consciousness, he is a perfect yogi because he's absorbed in the service of the Lord. But an Ashtanga yogi, he seizes all material existence. He renounces and he goes to the forest to cultivate knowledge. So this is a difference between the Ashtanga yoga and the Bhakti yoga. Last.
Criteria, regulation in lifestyle. Ashtanga Yoga, extravagance in the 4 demands of the body, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, is a block in advancement of any yoga. Eating, quantity, yogis should eat only what is required to keep body and soul together. Anything more is too much eating. Quality, only food and goodness. Food must be offered in yagya, otherwise one eats only sin. And no meat eating or intoxications. For Krishna consciousness, quantity for a devotee is he eats only limited, fast only according to scriptural injunctions, no artificial concocted fasting, and the quality is only Krishna prasadam, reference 9.26. Sleeping, Ashtanga Yoga, if more than 6 hours, he'll become lazy and he's dreaming. And for Krishna consciousness, following Avyartha Kalatvam, example Rupa Goswami and Srila Haridas Thakur, study the purports. Regulated in work and recreation, in Ashtanga Yoga it is regulated. In Krishna consciousness, works only for Krishna, no desire for sense gratification, and therefore no material leisure. Benefit of regulation for a Krishna conscious person is regulation in all above bodily activities brings to a state of no material misery.
So yes, we have to regulate our eating, sleeping, mating, defending in any yoga process that one may be following. So a person in Krishna consciousness, a bhakti yogi also is regulating eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So how does one person Krishna conscious regulate his eating? By eating only Krishna prasadam. A person who's following Ashtanga Yoga, he eats only enough to keep body and soul together. But we in Krishna consciousness, we may eat a little bit more than that. We can enjoy pizzas and pastas and noodles and any favorite food. As long as it is Krishna Prasadam, we are regulating our eating habits and fasting according to scriptural injunctions. So what is the kind of fast that we do? We fast on Ekadasis, we fast on the appearance day of the Acharyas, we fast on the appearance day of the Lord, Narsimha Chaturdasi, Janmashtami, appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. So these are all the fast that we do according to scriptural injunctions. Then sleeping. Avyartha kalatva means, avyartha means waste. We don't want to waste. Kal means time. So avyartha kalatva means person of Krishna consciousness, he does not want to waste even a moment without engaging in Krishna conscious activity. Sri Rupa Goswami, he slept only for 2 hours a day, Prabhupada writes in the purpose, and Srila Haridas Thakur, our Nama Acharya, he would not sleep before he would complete his daily quota of 300,000 names of God. And coming to regulation and work and recreation, Prabhupada writes in the purport that for an Ashtanga yogi, the only recreation is to go for a walk. And for a Krishna conscious person, there is no desire for sense gratification. There is no material leisure because whatever activities he is doing, he is dovetailing it in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so now let's come to the summary of the chapter which we didn't complete in the previous class. Yes, let's read this.
Chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, chapter summary. Ashtanga Yoga, a mechanical meditative practice, controls the mind and the senses and focuses concentration on Paramatma, the Supersoul, the form of the Lord situated in the heart. This practice culminates in Samadhi, full consciousness of the Supreme.
So let's see the verse by verse summary now.
Dhyana Yoga, verse by verse summary. In chapter 6, Krishna outlines the path of Dhyana Yoga, technically called Ashtanga Yoga, the Eightfold Path. A mechanical meditative practice meant to control the mind and senses and focus one's concentration on Paramatma, Supersoul, the form of Krishna, Vishnu, within the heart. After stating the importance of controlling the mind, 5 to 6, Krishna describes one who has done so, the yogi or transcendentalist, 7 to 9. Krishna then summarizes the methodology and ultimate goal of the Ashtanga Yoga system. Sitting postures, breathing exercises, and sense and mind control culminate in samadhi or consciousness fixed on the supersoul. 10 to 19. A yoga yuked, one who has attained perfection in yoga, has a steady mind fixed on the Supreme. He is liberated. His mind is peaceful. His passions are quieted. He experiences boundless transcendental happiness, and he is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulties. Thus, he is freed from all miseries resulting from the soul's contact with matter. 20 to 32. Arjuna complains, however, that the system of Ashtanga Yoga is too difficult to practice. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it seems to me more difficult than controlling the mind. 33 to 34. Krishna replies that controlling the mind is indeed difficult, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. 35 to 36. Arjuna then inquires about the fate of the yogi who falls from yoga practice before attaining perfection. 37 to 39. Krishna replies that such an unsuccessful yogi taking a future auspicious birth in a wealthy, pious, or wise family resumes his practice and after many births of such practice attains perfection. 40 to 45. The conclusion of the 6th chapter and of the entire first section of Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 2 final verses of this chapter. A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. And of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. 46 to 47. Yoga, linking with the Supreme, is thus superior to asceticism, tapasya, fruitive work, karma, and empiricism, jnana. And of all paths of yoga, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, hatha yoga, raja yoga, etc., bhakti yoga, loving devotional service to Krishna, is declared to be the culmination, the highest.
Okay, so with that, we have finished this chapter by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
We need to go through a PPT on the yoga ladder before we begin chapter 7 in the next class. So let's go through this. Do we have Varun with us now?
Yes, Mataji.
Can you read, please?
Okay. The process of linking oneself with the Supreme is called yoga, which may be compared to a ladder for attaining the topmost spiritual realization. This ladder begins from the lowest material condition of the living entity and rises up to perfect self-realization and pure spirituality.
Okay, so what we are going to see here is, first of all, what is the definition of yoga? What do we mean by yoga? Normally, when we say yoga, what comes to the mind of most people are the asanas or the postures which people do to maintain good health or to maintain a slim and trim body. But what really is yoga? Then we'll see the different sections of the Vedas and what are these different sections of the Vedas leading us to? What are they teaching us? Then what are the different kinds of yoga practices? And then we see the progression of these yoga practices on the yoga ladder. Then we will see, is Bhakti Yoga complete? Are we missing something in Bhakti Yoga that is there in the other yoga processes? Or does Bhakti Yoga automatically include everything that is there in the previous yoga practices? That we will see. And what is ultimately Krishna's choice of yoga, or the author's choice? Normally the author of the book knows the book the best. Yes. So like that, Krishna, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and who better than Krishna will know which is the best yoga system to follow. So we will see Krishna's choice of yoga. So let us see what is yoga. Varun, can you read?
Okay, Mataji. What is the word yoga? The word yoga originates from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means to unite. Thus, yoga means linking of our consciousness with the Supreme Absolute Truth. There are different types of yoga systems described, which are named differently according to the particular method adopted. When the linking process is predominantly in fruitive activity, it is called karma yoga. When it is empirical, it is called jnana yoga. And when it is predominantly in a devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is called Bhakti Yoga, which is the ultimate perfection of all yogas. Bhagavad Gita 6.46. The material world is meant for the gradual purification of the conditioned souls. Through the process of sacrifice, by this process, the conditioned souls can reawaken their spiritual consciousness, which they have forgotten. The yoga ladder is the Supreme Lord's system for facilitating this.
So the word yoga comes from the Sanskrit word
Yuj.
Unite.
Yuj.
yes, and yuj means to unite. Now what has to unite with what?
Our soul with the Lord.
Yes, exactly. So that is what yoga means, linking our consciousness with Krishna. Now, there are different kinds of yoga systems. There is not only one linking process, there are different linking processes. And the names that are given to these different linking processes depends on the method that we use. So when we want to link with Krishna based on fruitive activities, it is called as karma yoga. When it is based on our intellectuality, then it is jnana yoga. And when it is based on devotional service, then it is called Bhakti Yoga. Okay, now let's see the different sections of the Vedas.
Mataji, should I read?
Yes, you're in charge of the entire PPT, Varun. Can you do that for us?
Okay. In the Vedas, there are 3 khandas or divisions: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. The Karmakanda portion stresses the execution of fruitive activities, but ultimately it is advised that one abandon both Karmakanda and Jnanakanda, speculative knowledge, and accept only Upasana Kanda or Bhakti Kanda.
So the Vedas are divided into 3 sections, and the beginning section all deals with the Karma Kanda activities. Karma Kanda means what? Does anybody remember from our previous classes?
Yeah, sacrifices performed for some benefit.
Yes, for our own
Samasthiga
sense
benefit.
gratification. There is no desire for yoga. There is no desire to unite with the Lord. Desire is only one's own sense gratification, but under the umbrella of the Shastras. That is Karma Kanda activity. So therefore, there is no word called Karma Kanda Yoga because there is no desire to unite with the Lord. Only Karma Kanda. That is, we will see that on the yoga ladder. Then the middle section is Jnana Kand, and the last section deals with devotional service, Bhakti Kanda or Upasana Kanda. So the conclusion of all Vedic scriptures, ultimately the conclusion is that we have to perform loving devotional service to the Lord. Okay, so what are the different available destinations? The famous verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's read.
Vadanti tat tattvavedastatvam yajnanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti savyate. Translation. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan.
So Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti. These are the 3 available destinations. What is Brahman?
Brahma Jyoti.
Yes, or the light that is coming
Light
from the
from
body of Krishna. So that is the Brahman realization. Then Paramatma.
The effulgence.
The
No,
one
effulgence
resides
is
in
Brahman.
Brahman.
the hearts of the
Yes.
Paramatma, super soul.
Yes, Paramatma, super soul, or realizing the Lord in the form of the Paramatma as he resides in the core of the heart of every living entity. And Bhagavan realization is?
The Lord.
Like he's a person.
Yeah, realizing the Lord as a person. Yes. So these are the 3 available destinations. Now the 3 different kinds of transcendentalists. Let's read.
Different transcendentalists attain distinct kinds of samadhi. In samadhi, the mind and consciousness are fully focused on the absolute. The jnana yogi focuses on the Brahman, the Ashtanga yogi on the Paramatma, and the Bhakti yogi on Krishna. Brahman is the beginning of transcendental realization. Paramatma, the super soul, is the middle, the second stage in transcendental realization. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate realization of the absolute truth.
So the Brahman and the Paramatma realization are incomplete realizations of the absolute truth. The Bhagavan realization is complete. And you can see in the picture, the person on the left he is concentrating on the Brahman effulgence. And so he realizes the Brahman. The person in the middle, he is meditating on the Paramatma. So therefore he realizes the Paramatma, and the person on the right, he is meditating or concentrating upon Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Therefore he realizes the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. So this is our yoga ladder. At the rock bottom is sinful life, where most of the human population is doing what they want, how they want, no respect or no concern for Shastra, no desire to follow any rules and regulations. So this is where most of the human population is. One step on the yoga ladder is Karma Kanda. As we discussed in Karma Kanda, there is no desire to unite with the Lord. Therefore, there is no word called Karma Kanda Yoga. Here, the desire is still sense gratification only, but under the Shastric umbrella. So here, there is respect for rules and regulation. There is concern that, yes, I want to enjoy my senses, but under Shastras. So That's why it's not a sinful activity, but it is still not a yoga, because yoga means to unite. And here there is no desire to unite with the Lord. The word yoga starts from the sakama karma yoga level. Sakama, the word kama means desire. Sakama means with desires. And the word yoga means to unite. So here, this the sakama karma yogi, he has the desire to unite with the Lord, but at the same time, he is attached to material sense enjoyment. So therefore, the word sakama karma yoga. Then, as he follows sakama karma, so in sakama karma yoga, somebody may offer samosas to the Lord, but because he likes samosas, therefore he is offering samosas to the Lord. But the desire is still, he's not completely detached. He still wants to enjoy that samosa. So that is sakama karma yoga. Now in nishkama karma yoga, the desire for sense gratification is there, but he has a desire to serve the Lord in a particular way. He is still attached to the way in which he wants to serve the Lord. For example, somebody may be willing to give a Bhagavatam class, but he does not want to, I don't know, maybe cut vegetables in the kitchen. So depending on his psychophysical nature, he wants to serve the Lord in a particular way. As he goes higher in the yoga ladder, in jnana yoga, now he thinks that I don't want to indulge in any kind of activity. I don't want to indulge in any kind of karma, because if I indulge in any kind of activity, then I will get entangled. So now he wants to renounce. He wants to go to the forest. He wants to renounce, and he wants to cultivate knowledge. Jnana yogi, he realizes the Brahman aspect of the Lord. Then higher than, now after he realizes the Brahman aspect of the Lord, in the Brahma Jyoti, what he gets a lot of peace and tranquility. But how long is he going to enjoy that peace over there? Eventually, then he gets bored, and then he comes back. Now he wants to realize, he wants to see the Lord, right? He wants to realize a higher feature. So then he engages in Ashtanga Yogi and in Ashtanga Yoga, and here he realizes the Paramatma feature of the Lord. Now the Paramatma feature of the Lord, he sees the Paramatma face to face, but then it stops there. You are looking at the Paramatma is looking at you. Now the desire, now he is hankering to serve the Lord. Therefore, then he practices Bhakti Yoga, where he can serve the Lord in loving devotional service. As we go high up in the ladder, two things are constantly increasing, that is detachment and knowledge. The higher we go, there is more detachment and there is more knowledge. We will read this in detail. Let's
And where does the karma yoga fit in that ladder?
here in Karma Yoga, yes, Sakama and Karma Yoga, Sakama and Nishkama.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Let's go for sinful actions.
Actions against the scripture, sinful actions. Actions against the scriptures. Actions that do not fit into the yoga ladder. Destination of lords, planets, or species.
So because these activities are done without Shastric injunctions, therefore the destination of such a person is lower planets or lower species, taking birth as in the animal kingdom, because there is no respect for Shastra. So now let's see Karma Kanda. Varun, are you there?
Yes, Mataji. Karmakanda, material religiosity, no spiritual objective. This is the first step in the elevation of a conditioned spirit soul by encouraging regulated sense gratification. It brings animalistic people to a platform of religiosity. Our Karmakandi desires to attain material comforts without occurring any reaction. He understands that Karmakanda purifies the practitioner in many ways. It makes him practice some regulations which brings down detachment. Detachment fosters knowledge. It brings him to the Vedas, which also contain jnana, knowledge, and upasana, worship sections. C. By practicing yajnas or sacrifice and getting results, it gives him faith in Shastra or scriptures. D. It makes him associate with brahmanas, those who are engaged in the cultivation of spiritual knowledge, can give him knowledge. E. After bringing one to the Vedic knowledge path and giving one faith, it will naturally lead him to examine the jnana or knowledge sections in upasana worship sections, because the sense gratification of karma kanda inevitably leads to.
Okay, so karma kanda is material religiosity. Yes, some religious practices are being followed, but because he has material desires. So here there is no spiritual objective, and because the spiritual objective is absent, there is no word called yoga. But still, this karma kanda, if one is following at least karma kanda, it will purify the practitioner. How does it purify the practitioner? What happens when one is doing karma kanda?
Like you are eventually connecting with, not like literally connecting, but then you have that in mind that if I do something for the Lord, then Lord will give me this back. So
oh
yeah.
yes, because yes, so slowly he sees that when I'm worshiping the Lord is taking care of my needs, so the faith begins to develop. Very nice. How else does it purify us?
Maybe you are also chanting. What is chanting a
No,
part of?
chanting is bhakti yoga. So see the point D, it makes him
Veda.
associate with brahmanas. So when we are doing a karma kanda ritual, let's say we want to do a ritual in the house, and so we call a brahmana to do a ritual, and that ritual we want, let's say ghar ki shanti ke liye we say, no. So we want that all for the good health of my family members. Maybe somebody is sick in the family, so he's doing some ritual. So he calls a brahmana and he does a ritual in the house. So because he is associating with a Brahmin there, a Brahmin, I don't know about the modern day so-called Brahmins, but usually in the Vedic times, when a Brahmin would come to your house to do a ritual, yes, they would do the ritual and all that, but at the end of the day, they would tell you, you know what, my dear friend, this is very nice what you're doing, but this is actually not the goal of life. So slowly, every time the Brahmin comes to you, he gives you some Vedic knowledge. So by that association also, he's getting purified. And then, as you said, by practicing yajna, it gives him faith in Shastra. So he sees that, yes, my faith, the Lord is giving something. So he has faith in what the scriptures are saying. Because he's following the Shastra, he's getting the results. Then he's also coming in touch with the Vedas. When he does Karma Kanda activities, he is in touch with the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. But after Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, what comes? The Jnana Kanda section comes. And after that, the Upasana Kanda section comes. So now he's coming in touch with the other sections of the Vedas as well. So like that, Karma Kanda helps to elevate a person. First of all, it brings a person from the animalistic life to a platform of religiosity. That's the first thing it does. At least he is not performing sinful activities. So in summary, what is Karma Kanda? Let's read.
Should I read it?
Yes, please. Varun, everything is yours today.
Okay. Karma Kanda. Action within the injunction of the Shastra. Looking for a better sense enjoyment in heavenly planets. No desire to make spiritual advancement.
So basically, Karma Kanda is this. Action according to Shastra, desire to materially enjoy, and no spiritual desires. Now let's go to Karma Yoga. Let's read.
Okay. Karma Yoga. The practice of Karma Kanda leads one to the next step. Karma Yoga. Here one is frustrated with living for sense gratification and wants to advance spiritually. He understands that self-attraction binds the soul, but he is still too attached to completely stop working for himself. Therefore, one starts the Karma Yoga on the Sakama with desire stage. Sakama Karma Yoga, spiritual objective with material desires. Here one will work in the world but still be attached to some fruits for himself. Out of a desire for purification, he will give up some of the fruits of his labor but is still attached to some of the fruits for himself. E.g., he will offer foodstuff to Krishna but with the desire to enjoy it. The practice of Sakama Karma Yoga leads one to the stage where he is completely detached to the fruits of his activity. Niskama Karma Yoga. Niskama Karma Yoga, spiritual objective. Here one has some fixedness in transcendental knowledge. Generally, one at this stage is detached from the fruit of his labor, but is still attached to the work itself. Usually wants to serve Lord according to his psychophysical nature.
So basically, by doing karma kanda activities, slowly, what happens with over a period of time, now he's getting frustrated because he sees that, sense gratification is not giving me permanent happiness. So therefore, now he wants to, the desire is come into him that he wants to advance spiritually. But at the same time, he's not completely detached. Still that attachment is there. So on one side, there is a desire, a spiritual desire, but at the same time, there is material attachment. So therefore, he begins with Sakama Karma Yoga. And Sakama Karma Yoga, he gives some of the fruits to the Lord, but some of the fruits he keeps for himself. So he will offer the foodstuff to Krishna, but with the desire to enjoy it. That is Sakama Karma Yoga. Now in Nishkama Karma Yoga, Nishkama means without any karma, without any desire without any material desires. Here he has no desires to enjoy materially, but he wants to serve the Lord in a particular way. He's attached to the work itself. He's not attached to the fruits of the work, but he's attached to the work itself. That is Nishkama Karma Yoga. Now, as he advances on the Jnana Yoga level, now he thinks that I want to give up karma, but I want to give up activities because activities means bondage. So that we will see when we come there. So to summarize Karma Yoga, let's read.
Okay, Mataji. A little detachment from results of one's action with a desire to link with the Lord is exhibited here. It is of two categories, Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga.
Okay, so now let's see what happens in Jnana Yoga. Let's read.
Jnana Yoga, spiritual objective. Jnana Yoga promotes knowledge through seclusion, study, and renunciation activities, and the necessities of life are minimized. Since the pursuit of wisdom and realization is not simply an academic exercise, much emphasis is placed on becoming free from the sensual desires that delude the soul. Jnana Yogis negate the world and usually aim at liberation, mukti or moksha. Can be equated to giving up all social obligations in pursuit of spiritual advancement. This is not recommended by Krishna because one must be highly qualified to fully give up work.
So in Jnana Yoga, he wants to go to a secluded place and engage in study of the Upanishads especially. And so he wants to stay away from sensual desires. So he rejects everything that is matter because he thinks that it will entangle him in the cycle of birth and death. But of course, Krishna repeatedly, he does not recommend premature initiation. He warns against premature initiation so many times we have read in these chapters. Okay, let's read this.
Okay, Jnana Yoga. When we perform action, there is chance of performing some mistakes, so better avoid action. Material action is performed by three modes of material nature. It entangles us in the material realm, so why do any action? Better not to do any action. Renounce. Two things are encouraged here: cultivation of knowledge and analysis based on matter and spirit. Reject everything material. Inactivity, no action.
So this is how a person is thinking. After Karma Yoga, when he goes to Jnana Yoga, he wants to give up activities. And what are the two things that are encouraged here? Cultivation. He wants to cultivate knowledge. So there is we saw how Sankhya Yoga involves the study of the differentiation is made between matter and spirit. So this is matter, I have to reject. This is spirit, I have to accept. So they make the distinction. They reject everything that's material, accept only that is spiritual. In contrast, a bhakti yogi, what does he do? He will use the matter in the service of the Lord. That's the difference. Anyway, let's now go to Ashtanga Yoga. So here now a Jnana Yogi, if he's successful, he realizes the Brahman feature of the Lord. In the Brahman feature of the Lord, he's very, very peaceful. See, here for the first time, he has crossed over the materialistic realm, right? He's gone beyond the material world, and now he's situated in the Brahma Jyoti. So obviously, the stress and the hustle bustle of the material world is no more there. So he's completely peaceful, no anxieties. But how long is he going to enjoy that peace and anxiety-free existence? Because he just exists. He just exists in the light. That's it. So he gets bored, and then he wants to realize something further. Now that takes us to Ashtanga Yoga.
Okay, Ashtanga Yoga, spiritual objective. There are two stages of Ashtanga Yoga. Yoga Rukshu, the beginning stage, and Yoga Rudha, the advanced stage. These are further divided into 8 steps. Ashta means 8 and Anga means parts. Of the 8 steps in Ashtanga Yoga, the first 2 are Yama and Niyama. Following the prohibitions and regulations, after one learns to strictly follow the rules and regulations, he begins to practice asanas, sitting postures, what people commonly call hatha yoga. Asanas are being mastered. One begins pranayama, breathing exercises. The breath is intimately connected with the mind. Therefore, pranayama helps to control the mind. When his mind is controlled, the aspiring yogi advances to the practice of pratyahara, withdrawing his senses from their objects. When he becomes detached, he practices first dharana, then dhyana, different intensities of meditation. Such meditation leads to the final stage, samadhi. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that in the Yoga Virukshu beginning stage, one works in Nishkama Karma Yoga while simultaneously practicing Ashtanga Yoga that purifies his heart. When the aspiring yogi becomes elevated in his practice to the point of Yoga Ruddha, he gives up Nishkama Karma Yoga, and Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana adds that the Yoga Ruddha stage begins at dhyana, intense meditation on the Supreme Absolute Truth, Krishna.
So in our just concluded chapter, we saw in detail how Krishna has explained this Ashtanga Yoga process, also called as Patanjali Yoga. It has 8 parts, which we have seen: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So the ultimate stage here is Samadhi. Samadhi means what? Complete absorption. The mind is completely absorbed in the Supreme. So any yoga process ultimately should reach the Samadhi stage, where the mind is completely absorbed in Krishna. Okay, so now after he has realized the Paramatma realization, he sees the Paramatma looks at him, he looks at the Paramatma, it stops there. So now he wants to serve the Lord. That leads him to Bhakti Yoga. Let's read.
Okay, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is a synthesis and ultimate goal of all yoga systems, and is the path most recommended in the Gita. In pure Bhakti Yoga, the only desire is to please the Lord. There is no desire for sense gratification nor liberation. The practitioner simply wants to serve the Lord. It includes 9 items: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atmanivedanam. Hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the Lord's feet, deity worship, offering prayers, serving the Lord as a servant, serving the Lord as a friend, surrendering everything.
So Bhakti Yoga, the only desire is, I want to please the Lord. There is no other desire. This practitioner has no other desire. He doesn't want to enjoy his senses. He does not even want liberation. Even mukti, he does not desire even for mukti. All that he wants is to please the Lord. He only wants to serve the Lord. Now, it doesn't matter to him whether he serves the Lord in the material world or he serves the Lord in the spiritual world. It does not matter. So there are 9 items of bhakti as given to us by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. Okay. So another thing is, yeah, let's read the text.
Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is performed with love towards the Lord. It contains 9 aspects, all of which are blissfully done with affection for the Lord.
So these are, Bhakti Yoga involves these 9 items, and one engages in these 9 items blissfully. That is another important point here, blissfully, happily. Not that, oh, it's an obligation, oh, I have to do this. No, that's not the attitude. One blissfully does, one very happily, looking forward to it. That's how these 9 activities are done in pure Bhakti Yoga stage. So here we see what is it that these practitioners attain? Vikarma, one who performs Vikarma or sinful activities, his destination is lower planets or species, as we previously discussed. A person who's engaged in Karma Kanda activities, he attains heaven, or he can get another human birth on this planet Earth. He gets a human birth at least because he has not performed sinful activities. Karma Yoga, he takes birth in a yogi family, or he can attain heaven, or planets of Prajapatis or Rishis, or the higher planetary systems, wherein he gets the opportunity to associate with devotees, and therefore he can progress. Jnana Yoga, here for the first time from Jnana Yoga and above, he is crossing over the realm of the material world and he's going beyond. So Jnana Yogis, they attain the Brahman, Dhyana Yogi, the Paramatma, and Bhakti Yogi, the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord. Of course, when one realizes Paramatma, he automatically realizes Brahman. And when one realizes the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, he automatically realizes even the Brahman and the Paramatma features of the Lord. Now, Prabhupada makes a very, very important point. Let's read this.
Srila Prabhupada explains the culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the actual point of Bhakti and Bhakti Yoga. Yoga actually means Bhakti Yoga. All other yogas are progressions toward the destination of Bhakti Yoga. From the beginning of Karma Yoga to the end of Bhakti Yoga is a long way to self-realization. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas.
So if we put the other yoga system as vertical bars, then Bhakti is the horizontal bar, and all these other yoga systems have to go through Bhakti to attain the goal. If the Bhakti element is missing, then it is not possible for them to attain the goal. So Bhakti is important. All yoga processes have to go through Bhakti to attain perfection. Okay, so this is our yoga ladder, which we have discussed. Now, Bhakti Yoga has 3 levels: Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. And again, Sadhana Bhakti has 2 levels: Raganuga Bhakti and Vaidhi Bhakti. Let's see what they are.
Mataji,
Sadhana,
sorry.
Yes,
Previous one. So now we will only define sadhana bhakti.
We will define sadhana, then bhava, then prema.
Okay.
And when we define sadhana, we will define Raganuga and Vaidhi Bhakti.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No problem. Yes.
Okay. Sadhana Bhakti refers to the practice of devotional service in a way that one's dormant love for Krishna is awakened in the heart. There are 2 aspects to Sadhana Bhakti. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti refers to the practice of devotional service following rules and regulations sanctioned in the revealed scriptures. If one regularly executes such service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, then gradually he rises to the platform of serving in pure love of God. This practice of spontaneous, natural, unforced, loving service to Krishna is known as Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti is preliminary stage of love of Godhead. When asakti or deep attachment for Sri Syam Sundar intensifies, it is called bhava. It is in between sadhana and prema bhakti. It is a path to the highest perfectional stage of life, pure love or prema. Prema bhakti is the highest perfectional stage of the love of Godhead. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unalloyed, unprecedented, the restrained, fathomless, pure love is called prema, which eternally flows in uninterrupted stream like that of honey towards the object of love. Sri Sri Radha Shyam Sundar. The goal of sadhana bhakti is called bhava bhakti. It's called bhava bhakti. And the goal of bhava bhakti is prema bhakti. Bhava bhakti is one single ray of the sun called prema bhakti.
So sadhana bhakti refers to the practice of devotional service in a way that one's dormant love for Krishna is awakened. So love for Krishna is not something artificial. It is already there in our hearts because we are eternally his servants. So how to awaken that dormant love? By what kind of practices? That is sadhana bhakti. Now sadhana bhakti has two aspects, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and Raganuga sadhana bhakti. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti means we are following the rules and regulations that are given in the scriptures. Not necessarily here, we are looking forward to doing it. So somebody may chant 16 rounds because that person has committed to the spiritual master to chant. So therefore chant 16 rounds, but is not looking forward, it's not spontaneous, it's not natural, it is not something that he is looking forward to with enthusiasm. I chanting 16 rounds because I have made a commitment, therefore I have to do it. Doing it further because it has to be done. So that is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, following the rules and regulations. But then when it comes to Raganuga bhakti, then the practices are spontaneous, natural and unforced. It is of course it is at a higher level than Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Then in bhava bhakti, the attachment for Krishna has intensified, the emotions are flowing, and then after that it leads to prema bhakti, which is completely pure love for Krishna. So the goal of sadhana bhakti is to come to bhava bhakti. The goal of bhava bhakti is to come to prema bhakti. Prema bhakti is the highest perfectional stage of love of God, which is the goal of every practitioner. Now, Prabhupada makes this very, very interesting statement from, this is from one of Prabhupada's books called Renunciation Through Wisdom. Let's read this.
The spiritual progress that the Karma Yogi makes in this lifetime remains intact, and he continues in his next life from that point. In the Bhagavad Gita 6.43, Lord Krishna comments, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O son of Guru, in his next life, the unsuccessful yogi may be born in a family as pious brahmana or a wealthy merchant. In the failure in yoga, we refer karma yogis, dhyana yogis, and jnana yogis. Among the followers of these paths, the karma yogi is the closest to becoming a pure devotee, and he has dedicated his activities to the Supreme Lord's service. Gradually acting in this manner, he becomes a bhakta yogi. Such a yogi is in the highest order, and he is fit to instruct all other yogis. Srila Prabhupada, Renunciation Through Wisdom 1.9.
So see, Srila Prabhupada says that a karma yogi is closest to becoming a pure devotee. And this is the reason why Prabhupada, he equates karma yoga with bhakti yoga in his purports. If you read the purports of chapter 3 and chapter 5, many times Prabhupada equates karma yoga with bhakti yoga. That's because, as he says here, a karma yogi is closest to becoming a pure devotee. Okay. So we saw our yoga ladder. Now going by our previous statement, there is our progressive yoga ladder, where just by engaging in karma yoga, one can come to the stage of bhakti yoga, because karma yogi is closest to becoming a pure devotee. So this is our progressive yoga ladder stage, wherein the jnana and the dhyana stages have been removed. So directly from vikarma karma kanda to karma yoga, he can go to bhakti yoga without having to go through jnana and dhyana yoga. But other than these two, there is an express elevator. This is not a yoga. This is not a ladder. I'm sorry. It's not a ladder. It's not a staircase. It is an express elevator. What is an express elevator? It's the express elevator of bhakti yoga, which is just by associating and surrendering to a pure devotee, one can immediately take to the bhakti yoga process. So there is no need for us to follow all these processes. And this is what Srila Prabhupada taught us, right? He just cut to the chase and said, just chant Hare Krishna. That's all, just do bhakti yoga. When Prabhupada went to the West, in America, the hippie movement was very strong. And they did not go through this ladder. They didn't go through karma kanda, sakama, nishkama, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga before coming to bhakti yoga. No, they were all at this vikarma stage, engaged in sinful activities. But by the association of Srila Prabhupada and by surrendering to Srila Prabhupada, under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, they immediately took to the bhakti yoga process. So this is the express elevator of bhakti yoga. This is not a ladder. This is an elevator. So what is Krishna's choice of yoga? What is the author's choice? Let's read.
Yoginamapi sarveshvam madhya tenata vatmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam sameyuktamo mata. Translation: Of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
So of all the yoga systems, which is the best that Krishna is recommending? One who renders transcendental loving service to me, says Krishna. So which yoga is that? Which yoga system is that?
Bhakti yoga.
Bhakti yoga.
Yes, Bhakti yoga, of course, Bhakti yoga. So this is Krishna's, this is the last shloka of chapter 6. So here we have some references from Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Let's read.
Okay. Lord Chaitanya's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 24.92-93. The other processes cannot yield results unless they are associated with a devotional service. Devotional service, however, is so strong and independent that it can give one all the desired results. With the expectation of devotional service, all the methods of self-realization are like the nibbles on the neck of a goat. Therefore, an intelligent person adopts only devotional service, giving up all processes of self-realization. CC Mandya 24.31. Although decide one, those who think they are liberated in this life but are without devotional service to you are impure, are of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances and rise to the spiritual position, to impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. One does not attain liberation without rendering devotional service. Liberation is only attained by devotional service. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.17-22. Devotional service to Krishna is the chief function of the living entity. There are different methods for the liberation of the conditioned soul: karma, jnana, yoga, bhakti, but all are dependent on bhakti. Without devotional service, all other methods for spiritual self-realization are weak and insignificant. Unless one comes to the devotional service of Lord Krishna, jnana and yoga cannot give the desired results.
So many references from the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, where we see that how Bhakti Yoga is so strong and so independent. It does not depend on any other yoga system. And we can get the benefits of all other yoga systems just by practicing Bhakti Yoga. So we have to make the choice. Do we want to take the staircase or we want to take the express elevator? Krishna says in the 12th chapter, let's read the text.
Okay. Staircase versus elevator. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Buddha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Bhagavad Gita 12.6.
So see, the key was there, swift deliverer. So Krishna is a swift deliverer. So swift, very quickly. So it's an express elevator. When we surrender to Krishna, then he can very quickly take us out of this cycle of birth and death. In the other yoga systems, the practitioner is trying to attain perfection based on his own endeavor. He is not depending on the mercy of the Lord. But in Bhakti Yoga, he is completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So which way is better, the monkey way or the cat way? The monkey holds on to the mother on his own strength, and the mother monkey is swinging from one branch to the other branch, sometimes so quickly that the baby monkey has to really struggle to hold on. And many a time the baby monkey falls also. But here you see the baby kitten. The baby kitten is very happy swaying here and there. No effort is being done. The mother is completely taking care of the kitten. So Bhakti yogis are like this kitten. Right, Krishna takes care of them, and the other yoga systems, because they are trying to attain perfection on their own strength, then they are like this baby monkey. Who is in a more secure position? Of course, the kitten is in a more secure position. So now the question comes: is Bhakti Yoga complete? Are we missing something in Bhakti? Is there something that we can attain in other yoga systems that we cannot get in Bhakti Yoga? No, actually, Bhakti has all components of the other yoga systems and more. In Karma Kanda, Shastric injunctions. In Karma Yoga, along with Shastric injunctions, there is some detachment. In Jnana Yoga, along with Shastric injunctions, detachment, there is cultivation of knowledge. In Dhyana Yoga, meditation is added to the Shastra detachment and cultivation of knowledge. So he starts to meditate on the Super Soul. In Bhakti Yoga, there is Shastric injunction, there is detachment, there is cultivation of knowledge. We are meditating and there is love for the Lord. So you see, Bhakti Yoga has all the components that are there in the other yoga systems and more. That's why Bhakti Yoga is the epitome of all the yoga systems.
I had a question. So
Yes.
in some yogas, like yogis can walk on water and they have some like super powers like that. So can you also get that in Bhakti Yoga?
Yeah, in Bhakti Yoga, one may not be able to walk on water, for example, but Prabhupada said that what is the use of that kind of an
Power.
ability?
Yeah.
No, because Prabhupada said that you can walk on water and cross the river, but I can also pay 2 pence and cross the river or a boat. So that is something that it's cheap. It's not something that
Like it's not relevant.
yeah. What
To
is the use of that kind of ability? Okay. And there is also this statement by Prabhupada. No, somebody asked Prabhupada that, can you perform magic tricks, Prabhupada, like the others? So then Prabhupada said, see, my magic is that all these people are now have taken to the chanting of the holy name. That's the magic that Prabhupada weaved in the Western world and also in India, of course. Okay. So there are different stages of bhakti according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Of course, these teachings were given to Sri Rupa Goswami by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So let us see what are these 9 different stages.
Okay, should I read the stages or the entire paragraph?
The entire paragraph, please.
In the beginning, one must have a Shraddha, a preliminary desire for God realization. This means an individual eager desire leads one to be in the company of a God realized saint, which is called Sadhu Sangha. In order to learn the methods of spiritual practices for God realization alone and for no other purpose, in the next stage, one follows the instructions of a spiritual master and begins with the process of bhajana kriya. Devotional practices like listening, singing, and chanting the qualities of God with his mind. Execution of devotional practices, one becomes free from all material attachment. Anartha nivritti contains nishta, i.e., I.E. steadiness, and thereafter acquires a ruchi taste for hearing about Krishna. This taste leads one further to attachment for Krishna called asakti, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God, where one develops an intense longing for his beloved Lord. Here, a devotee doesn't waste his time, even for the twinkling of an eye. Without constantly being engaged in his bhajans, he will sometimes feel the presence of Krishna near him, and is drowned in the stream of ecstasy, the manifestation of sattvic bhav. The last stage is called prema, pure, real, love for God. The highest perfectional stage of the life where the spiritual master bestows his special mercy and grace to his completely surrendered disciple and give him prema. So by the process of devotional service and the guidance of the spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage of divine bliss, being freed from all material attachment. Then thereafter one can ultimately reach to the abode of Supreme Lord. Golok Dham to serve the God.
So the 9 different stages of bhakti. Shraddha, first of all, there has to be some faith, a preliminary desire to realize God, because then that faith will lead him to associate with a devotee. In Sadhu Sangha, now he's associating with devotees as he has a spiritual master, and under the guidance of spiritual master, he is performing devotional activities, bhajana kriya. As he performs devotional services, then the attachments decrease, right? Unwanted attachments. So his attachment to the to material sense enjoyment, that automatically decreases by performing devotional activities. See, remember, anartha nivritti comes after bhajana kriya. People think that no, I should be detached, then I will do bhakti. It's not like that. When you do bhakti, automatically detachment will take place. So then, as the detachment is increasing, then there is steadiness. One is more steady in his spiritual practices, and as he is steady, then he develops a taste for them. Now he's looking forward to it. Then there is attachment. He really wants, he's attached to it, right? It's after, because he's enjoying it now he's attached to it. Then he comes to the bhava and the prema stage, which we have discussed previously. So these are the 9 stages of bhakti. Now let us see some of the verses. Let's only read the translation and you tell me which yoga system is being discussed here. Can we read the translation, Varun?
Okay. Oh, Papa, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
So which part of the yoga ladder is being spoken of here by Krishna?
Is it Karma Kanda?
Karma Kanda. Why do you say Karma Kanda?
Oh, because it says opening the doors for the heavenly
Planets.
Yeah.
Yes. So here Krishna is talking on the Karma Kanda level. Very nice. Let's see 2.38. Let's read this.
Translation. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
So what is Krishna speaking of here in this verse?
Nishkama Karma Yoga.
Yes. Why?
Loss or gain, victory or defeat.
Yeah, so he's telling him, don't be
Living-
attached to the fruits of your work. So see how Krishna progress is taking him through a progression, right? 2.32 is saying you fight because you will go to heaven. But now in 2.38, he's telling him, you just fight, don't be attached to the results. So now Krishna is taking him to a higher level. Here he's talking about karma yoga. This verse, let's read.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to flowery men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good work, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
So what is this flowery words of the Vedas? Which section of the Vedas is Krishna referring to?
All the Bhagavad Gita.
No, Vedas. We saw the Vedas are divided into 3 sections, right? What are the 3 sections of the Vedas we saw?
Is it Jnana Kanda?
Okay, anybody else wants to try? Flowery words of the Vedas. Flowery
Or
words.
is it Karma Kanda?
Yes, yeah. So he is here not recommending karma kanda, right? He's saying that men of small knowledge are attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. So he's saying that men of small knowledge only perform karma kanda activities. So here Krishna is recommending against following karma kanda. 3.7. Let's read this.
Okay. Yes, Twindriyani Manasa Niyam Yar Bhaterjuna Karmindriyai Karma Yoga Masakta Savishishyate. Oh, sorry. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior.
So which yoga system is being followed here?
Karma Yoga.
Karma yoga, yes, karma yoga. The title of chapter 3 itself is karma yoga. Next.
Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme.
So which yoga system is Krishna talking about here?
Nishkama Karma Yoga.
Again, karma yoga, because now he's saying act as a matter of duty without attachment. So here
Wait,
also he's
Mataji,
talking.
but eventually, doesn't the karma yoga like go into the like once you've perfected it, don't you go into like higher yogas?
Yes, definitely. There is a progression even in karma yoga. When one does an activity out of duty, when one does an activity out of love, there is a difference, right? For example, taking care of a child, when the mother takes care of the child, it is out of love. When a stepmother takes care of the child, it is because of a social obligation. And when the maid is taking care of the child, it is out of her duty because she's getting paid for the job. All of them are doing their duties, karma yoga, but there is a progression in that. Okay. .438. Let's read the translation.
In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is a mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has achieved this enjoys a self within himself in the due course of time.
So which yoga system is being discussed here?
Dhyana Yoga.
Which one?
Dhyana Yoga?
Dhyana yoga?
Is it Gyan
Gyan.
Yoga?
It is Jnana yoga. Yes,
Jnana,
Jnana
Jnana,
yoga. But
sorry.
Krishna is saying there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. So here it's Jnana yoga. Okay, here translation.
Translation. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point.
So which yoga system is being discussed here?
Dhyana Yoga.
Dhyana yoga, yes, Dhyana yoga or Ashtanga yoga or Patanjali yoga. Okay, next.
Okay. If one honors me with love and devotion, a leaf or a flower, a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, I will accept it.
So which yoga is this?
Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti yoga, because Krishna is saying, offer me with love and devotion. These are the key words. Offer me with love and devotion. So when there is love, then it is Bhakti yoga. Next.
Okay. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
So which yoga system is this?
Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti yoga. Correct. Okay. 10.9. Let's read the translation.
Okay. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me.
Which yoga is this?
Bhakti Yoga.
Again, Bhakti yoga, because he's talking about pure devotees and how their lives are fully dedicated to the service of Krishna. So, of course, this is also Bhakti yoga. And with this, we come to the end of our presentation on the yoga ladder. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Does anybody have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question. So I'm a little confused between Karma Yoga and like Bhakti Yoga. I know like Bhakti Yoga is an advanced state of Karma Yoga, but like didn't we also like understood in Karma Yoga that we should like whatever we do, like whatever karma we do, we should be doing for the Lord. So isn't like Bhakti Yoga the same, like dovetailing the activities we do?
Yeah, so see, coming to the example of the child being taken care of, right? Now, when the child is taken care of by the maid, because out of duty, there is no love involved. It is purely karma yoga. But the mother taking care of the child, of course, it's her duty also as a mother, but there the love has overpowered the duty. Yes. So there now it has become bhakti yoga. That's why Prabhupada equates karma yoga with bhakti yoga in his purports. But if you want to make a distinction, right, in karma yoga, one is attached to serving the Lord in a particular way according to one's psychophysical nature. But in bhakti yoga, that condition is not there. Irrespective of the psychophysical nature of the person, he will go out and serve the Lord in any which way, even if it does not suit him by his nature. So that condition is absent in pure bhakti yoga. In karma yoga, but if you know, that's why bhakti yoga is equal to karma yoga. Prabhupada says in the purports, of course, because he is merciful and all that. And he says also that the karma yogi is closest to becoming a pure bhakti yogi. But still, if you want to make a technical differentiation, in karma yoga, one is attached to serving the Lord according to his psychophysical nature. But this condition is absent in pure bhakti yoga. He wants to serve the Lord
In any
irrespective,
manner, yeah,
yeah,
irrespective.
that condition of the psychophysical nature does not play in that.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. What else?
Aditya is there?